Keep your plans a secret. Do not invite unwanted energy. When you're in the early stages of doing something, you're vulnerable because you're not quite there in terms of foundations. Your plans are just that in the early stages, plans. So things could go wrong. They could fall through. Nothing is yet confirmed. It's not yet official. So to go out there and tell people what your plans are, you are putting yourself in a position to A, have those plans attacked. Somebody could want to sabotage your plans. Maybe they don't quite like you. Or maybe they will take your plans, potentially, and run with them. Guys, I'm thinking of doing, how many times have we done this? Let's be honest now. You tell your boys, oh, I'm planning to do that. There might be somebody that's like, oh, that's a good idea, actually. I might do that. Now, look, I want everybody to win. That's my mindset, including my friends. But there are some people that will be really slimy about it. They might not even be your friends. They'll overhear your plan. Maybe you were planning to speak to a dental clinic near you for, marketing purposes. Maybe you want to run an agency, whatever. So you tell one of your friends, hey, I'm thinking of signing up this dental clinic. He might do that before you, if that's something he also wants to do, or he might go ahead and speak to that clinic before you and sign them up. And then you go there and they say, oh, actually, no, we had a guy come in last week. And you're like, what? How did that happen? So someone might try and sabotage your plans. Somebody might steal your plans. And number 3, your plans just might fall through. Because that's just the way life is. Sometimes you can plan something so perfectly and it doesn't quite work out. You're in talks with a recruiter about a potential new role. It's a very good package, good salary. And you go to your boys and you say, hey guys, I'm in talks right now with a company that's going to pay me $80,000 a year. And it's a great package. I can do whatever I want. I can work remotely. And you start saying these things. And it could fall through. The recruiter could actually get back to you a couple of days later and say, actually, I'm so sorry. We found somebody who's a better fit. And then your friend said, oh, so what happened with that role? Oh, I didn't get it. Which is okay. You're not going to win everything. You're not going to get everything that you put your sights on, right? You set your sights on. But then if you're always talking about your plans, one out of 5, 1 out of 10 might come through. And so you're just going to make yourself look bad if you have to keep going back and saying, well, I didn't get it. Just shut up. Don't tell anybody until it's official. And even then, why do you feel the need to announce everything you've achieved to people? It's approval-seeking behavior. That's what it is when we actually break it down. You want approval. You want people to be like, oh, well done. You're such a great guy. And if we trace that back, a lot of us didn't receive the attention and the love that we needed as children. And so we grow up and we become approval-seeking adults, which is the reality. It really is, which is why a lot of people will do anything for social media likes and comments, and they're craving that validation. What I've realized as I move towards the end of my 20s and now being in my 30s is that the less people know, the better. Honestly, the less people know, the better. There's a quote which I've mentioned before on the channel. People cannot attack that which they do not know. Your plans will remain protected so long as you don't invite outside energy, outside attention. Keep your plans secret. Even from a war perspective, you don't tell the enemy, oh, we're going to be here, by the way, if you want to get your guys ready to attack us. No. The element of surprise is a big thing in military. Boom, before you know it, you've attacked the enemy and they had no idea it was coming. Just secure W's without telling everybody. Get the job. then get a new car, then get married. You don't have to tell everybody. Look, there are people in your close circle that you might want to tell, which is okay. You know, there are good friends out there that will celebrate with you and won't be envious and send you weird energy. So if you trust your closest, friends, by all means. But timing is key. Get it done first. Get it done. Make it official first before you tell them. But it also removes the pressure. It really does. When you tell everybody, look, there's two sides to this, I will say. From one side, you could argue that when you tell people what your plans are, there's a sense of accountability. Now you have to follow through. I agree with that. But also, it can also be destructive in the sense where now everybody knows what you're doing. And it can just invite a different kind of unwanted eyeballs, attention onto you that may affect your performance in some way. Okay, and so I still believe that growing in silence is the best way forward. Is the best way. And look, some people say that there's three things you don't talk about: your love life, your finances, your family, right? And I agree with that. Do not reveal who you're romantically interested in, especially early on. People, of course, will know when you're in a relationship, and your friends will know, the ones you invite to the wedding, that you're getting married, right? But intimate details of what goes on in your private life should not be revealed. Should not, because then you end up creating enemies. Especially if you start saying, oh, my partner did this, my partner did that, and you start talking about all the bad things they did. You may forgive your partner, other people don't. Other people won't. They'll hold a grudge. Oh, that's the girl that screwed him over, did this to him, did that to him. Just keep it quiet. Unless something really bad happens, in which case, know who to confide in. Don't just tell everybody. Don't tell the group chat, guys, she's doing this to me. Nah. It makes you look really immature that you can't handle your own private affairs as a man. You have to tell all of your friends. No, you're a grown man. You handle your issues in private. As a last resort, if there's something you really need support with, you tell the closest people to you. And I wouldn't even advise more than 2 people, really. Maybe your dad and maybe a close friend. That's about it. Don't go out there telling everyone that you went to school with and that you have on Facebook. There's no need. Same with the money thing. You don't need to tell people how much you make. And I would even say you don't even need to tell your partner how much you earn. Why? If you take care of her, which I always recommend that every man does completely, you take care of your wife in terms of the living arrangements, food, energy costs, right? Because it makes you feel good as a man when you're able to provide like that. I know some of you guys here will be like, well, no, she has to do her part. Yeah, well, women provide in a different way. Okay, and even if you're not financially where you want to be, it should be within you to want to take care of her completely. Okay? So even if you can't do that yet, aspire to do that. But you don't need to tell her exactly how much you earn. You don't. I make this and this. Why do you need to tell her that? Same thing with your parents. I earn this, this, and this on the dot. Do they need to know? Look, it's not about being a slimy, secretive weasel. No, that's not what it's about. It's just, is it necessary? How would it affect our dynamic if they now know this information? I would argue it opens you up for criticism. You know, maybe your parents will start criticizing your purchases. Oh, you think you're this now that you're making that? Some parents are like that. Some don't care, in which case, great. But even then, is it necessary? No. You know, I know some dynamics, family dynamics, if they know you're making a lot of money, they'll start saying, well, you make all this money, but you didn't get us any gifts, any nice gifts. Some people will start expecting like iPhones and laptops and stuff if they know you're making good money. Some people are weird like that with gifts, you know. I get some people have their love language is receiving gifts. But then when they start making demands of certain things, it gets a little bit weird. You know? So when it comes to your plans, keep them quiet. Your accomplishments, celebrate your accomplishments with the closest people in your life, but do not feel the need to announce them to the world. You just invite unwanted energy. I've spoken about this before. The evil eye. The evil eye is basically just you receiving weird vibes that can often throw off your plans. Weird energy. Sometimes you feel it when somebody gives you the evil eye. I know you might be thinking, Ali, that's just being superstitious. No, genuinely, I've experienced it myself. You just feel like, fucking hell. Since I told this guy, it's been going sideways. But you never feel that way when you keep your plans quiet. You never feel regret. Have you guys ever overshared and then you felt regret after? You felt uncomfortable afterwards. You're like, why did I tell this person? Why did I just feel the need to gain their approval, which is what it was. You wanted them to say, wow, that's amazing, bro. You're going to crush it. Why did you do that? I've had that a few times where I felt guilty, felt stupid after revealing some of my plans to somebody that I wasn't even that close with. You know, we weren't best buddies or anything. It's like, why did I do that? Keep it quiet. Best thing to do, honestly. You'll never regret keeping your plans private, but you will always regret announcing them to the world, telling every Tom, Dick, and Harry, oh, this is what I'm going to do, guys. No, I'm going to move to New Zealand. I've just been given an $80,000 a year job offer. It almost always ends up badly when you do that. Okay? It's the law of averages. It's such as life. You know, not every opportunity will work out. Not every job application will lead to a job offer. And so if you're announcing everything, you're just going to make yourself look really bad. Okay? So that's just my 2 cents on this topic. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, comment, and if you're new here, consider subscribing. Catch you guys in the next one.